The thing itself. Physicists declare new knowledge of reality, particles that may or may not be traveling faster than the speed of light. The colossal sun expands as it cools, but that time is further away than the congealing of dust into planets, so don't worry so much. November rains have stripped away the last red persimmon leaves. This happens every year. Perceived climate fluctuations are not the same thing as evidence of long-term change. On the plus side, one could say our weather grows more exciting, less storm chasing, and more experience of disaster arriving on the doorstep. Suitcase in hand, asking to bunk on the sofa for a week, a month, the long term. If the vast changes in the atmosphere continue, we might want to add some rooms to the house for the displaced. Woo! And I, unfortunately, like many of us, have a number of post-election poems. In the dystopic space, the late news interrupts the domestic. You click on sleep tips. Keep your devices out of the bedroom. Turn your space into a dark cave. Could you remind my neighbors to point security lights down? Actually, the problem is checking disaster of the day or WTF 24 hours. Someone asked, before these news sharing days, how did people remember? Some respondents were enthusiastic about rhyme or dance. Post a photo. My mother-in-law's memories are on a tape somewhere that needs to be uploaded or downloaded onto a more modern device so we can hear her voice again. This morning is quiet enough for me to hear the click of the cat's claws on the wooden floor, blood pulsing in my ears, conversation outside at the bus stop. The half-life of bad ideas is double the life of most good ideas. If we could x-ray the body politic, what next? I know I live in a bubble. As a matter of fact, bird of paradise plants grow on my block. Cut an apple one way and you get a wedge, the other direction, a central star. You could ask, why this one or that to babble all over the screen? Instead, when you open the door, children are waiting for the school bus like always. How connected is advisable? This morning I read about the liver, the most connected organ, receiving arterial blood for nourishment and venous blood to purify. Why am I bringing this up? To celebrate fragile equilibriums. Long before the noise of our day, a poet wrote, "The technology of silence." Not that boom boxes were unknown in the 70s. During my first month of college, I was wakened most days to an ear-splitting rendition of Home of the Armadillo. We were all displaced, but boys and their noise filled the space along with 6 packs of beers. Now headphones blunt most noise. Silence between 2 women or men or one of each can be executed across a table, each scrolling through a feed while a server clears dishes. Back when destination was fluid with optimism, you would ask questions like, what time is this place? People signed up for groups where the message was, follow your bliss, as though bliss were more than someone in black jeans and a leather jacket standing by the door. I believed in a better future like everyone else who stored grain and never sought hegemony. When did psychology take over to undo the work of our grandparents? In Argentina, during the Dirty War, all the intellectuals had psychoanalysts to relocate nightmares. When ships consider the sea, sailors take flight. You've wanted to visit the Galactic Bar all your life. Not the life where you plan to memorialize creatures on their way to extinction. No, this was out in space, where you were the botanist cataloging unrecognizable species, proclaiming, "Yes, Captain, sentience exists." After a long voyage, you would arrive on a planet famous for lavender light and miles of bars providing sparkling drinks and conversation with aliens who are willing to explain first how they did it, and then clarify the relationship between space and time. You interview your own intentions. What are your plans? What did you expect to happen? Oh, engine of progress, I miss you. Who knew the shrouds of repression were close on your heels? Our islands and peninsulas where pollution blows out to sea, we could afford illusion, our labyrinths promising a certain peace. Or we could meditate to levitate the Pentagon. Could we distinguish our theater from our elections? Meanwhile, in the middle of it all, we have a movie where downloading consciousness is trivia. Bring back Eleanor Roosevelt, Bring back Eleanor Roosevelt, Eleanor Marx, Eugene Debs, and Cousin Frank, who said that communism was wanting everyone to have what he had. I long for that future stuck in this present of a 20-year war. The counter-revolution has already been televised, but the genome of the future won't be sequenced. Woo. When all things are possible, how far is ahead is a driverless car chasing you down Sepulveda? Imagine a pilotless drone snapping pictures of your yard while your children run naked through the sprinklers on summer's first truly hot day. Or the wedding in the park, an unfortunate mistake breaking apart the canopy, shattering every last glass. Explain the words remorseless justice to an AI. So when all your devices, including your oxygen tank, shut down on the same day after you couldn't pay the bill, that's what it means on the way to the robot apocalypse. And I'm going to end with two short poems. This is how the wind shifts. The wind shifts the way a cat knows how to trace the path of a sparrowhawk moth through fluctuating currents. The wind shifts the way the stories in the news become more and more detached from agreed upon facts. The wind shifts into a storm complete with electrical activity, and then hail deluges the street. The wind shifts into repeating electronic delusions of reciprocal conversation. The wind shifts so that the teacher feels obliged to manufacture optimism for the teens taking notes in the overcrowded room. The wind shifts outside our imagination, along with the cousin who emigrated to a far continent. All that remains. We listen for chords of the missing frogs that scudded along this river. Last night, beside the water's edge, pink traces of twilight held the hour, then vanished.